We got a special guest on the line with us now going into his third season with the Buffalo Bills. Bills' third-round draft pick in 2018. Happy to have defensive lineman Harrison Phillips on the air with us. Harrison, John Murphy, Steve Tasker up here in Buffalo. Thanks for coming on. Where are you? Are you in town? Are you home? Are you in Nebraska? Where are you at these days?
Yes. So I appreciate you guys letting me come on with you today. I'm back in Omaha, Nebraska right now, staying in my mom and dad's place. Just quarantined here. But it sounds like I've got some plans scheduled to come back to Buffalo here real soon, even with, all of us possibly coming on the 18th, although we don't know how sure that really is. I'm going to be up there fairly soon with some, exemptions due to my rehab that would allow me in the building if other players wouldn't. So excited to get back up in Western New York soon.
How's your rehab going?
It's coming along pretty good. I've really made some strides in the last 6 weeks or so where I'm kind of feeling like a football player again. I'm starting to do football drills as opposed to just straight line sprinting, running the hoop, pass rushing on air or on bags, things like that. So, it's exciting to be out there moving again and feeling fluid, but I'm also very happy that I've still got 4 months until season starts.
I was reading that you're kind of training with high school teammates right there in Omaha, and you're training at a former high school teammate's gym, I guess, that he has in his house, huh?
Yeah. So was fortunate enough that when everything went down in Buffalo, I was up there, and when the Bills didn't let us in the building and everything in the city was shutting down, I literally had zero access to a weight room. So I came back home knowing that one of my best friends here in Omaha has a full-blown weight room in his basement. Racks, dumbbells up to hundreds, lat pull-downs, machines, cardio, all this fantastic stuff. And so I was able to use that, and I have the key to an indoor field, a soccer field that's indoors. So for the days that it's raining and cold here in Nebraska, I was given the access code to do my running stuff in there if I don't do it at just the outside high school. So I have a pretty good routine going, and, I was very, very nervous when this whole thing broke down, thinking, hey, how am I going to get myself ready for this? And as it turned out, God had a way, and been crossing and checking off a lot of boxes of my rehab here.
Harrison, I remember seeing you in the field house rehabbing during the off season, early in the off season, before we were all sequestered away in January, February. And I got to be honest with you, not for nothing, I was watching you work out, and I couldn't tell which leg was injured when I saw you running and doing your drills and stuff. You looked really good to me. Remind me, you've been through this injury before. Which knee is injured this time, and is it the same knee?
Yeah, so I got hurt 6 years ago, I think it is, 5.5 years ago, with my left ACL. I re-tore that left ACL. So okay. What made this one a little bit trickier and the rehab a little longer than your normal 6, 7, 8 month plan was that because it was my second tear, they had to go into my right leg, which had nothing wrong with it, to take out my patella tendon because that's what I had used already 5 or 6 years ago. So I ended up having surgery on both of my knees, and that's why the rehab is so much longer. If a normal person had to come in and do 2 hours of lifting for their leg, well, I was having to do almost 4 hours of lifting because I was rehabbing both of the legs as if it was an ACL injury. So definitely a lot of hours spent grinding and getting back, and it's sure going to make this season a lot sweeter.
Harrison Phillips, our guest. Harrison, unfortunate to get injured, and especially where you were at. You got hurt in the Bengals game, I believe, right? The home opener last year. You were off to a great start against the Jets and the Giants, and it appeared that you had done a lot to get yourself ready last September for your second season in the NFL. They'd had to hurt a little bit to lose all that work with an injury like that, huh?
Absolutely. I want to try to pride myself in being the hardest worker on the team and always doing more. And, when the season stopped after my rookie year, I took less than 1 week off and started 2-a-days and was, lifting in the mornings, running in the afternoons, wrestling with my high school, helping them out, doing 2 and 3-a-days as early as like middle of January, and did that through the whole off season. It put myself in a really solid position to earn some of those significant playing time, the third down rushes and, getting my snap count up and playing 60, 70% of a game. And I really thought everything was coming together for me as a player. What's unfortunate for me is that I still just haven't found my ceiling in the NFL. I just don't know how good of a player I can be. Obviously, those first 2 or 3 games, I put some good stuff on film, but everyone knows you get better as the season goes on. Every good player should. And so, it sucks, but it's also encouraging to me that I know that I can come back and be the player I showed, and that really myself, the coaches, other players, no one really knows how good I can be. And there's some excitement to that, knowing that this offseason I'm working at everything I can, and even through this season and into next season, because, sometimes it takes more than a full year to get to your true self. So, for the next year or so, I'm super optimistic about, let's go find out how good of a football player Harrison Phillips can be for the Buffalo Bills.
Well, you mentioned a moment ago, May 18th is a kind of a penciled-in date on the calendar where they may let certain people back into the facility. You're talking about maybe the players coming back May 18th in the NFL. You're coming back a little sooner. What is the level of optimism about how soon the team can get together?
It's tough because as coaches and anybody dealing with the NFL teams, you've got to keep guys, anticipating our return. If we are back in the building full go, all 91 of us or whatever, on May 18th, well, guys better be doing their workouts now, better be running gassers, and better be getting in shape for getting on the field and doing football. And so that's really important for us to hear that, which is keeping us motivated and getting excited. But as you know, you can't have a competitive advantage, so that would mean all 32 NFL teams those cities need to be healthy enough to allow gatherings of 90 people. If that happens in the next 2 weeks, I think we're all going to be very happy. If it doesn't, well then, the NFLPA and the NFL have already come together when we started the virtual OTA period and mentioned if that can't happen, we'll just resume with virtual OTAs for the remainder. I think it's great that the league is going to, release our schedule and start getting people really excited about season, and I definitely hope that everything works out. But the way that Brandon and Sean are, whatever way that we can get a competitive advantage, we will. And so if it's through these virtual OTAs, we're still going to try to find a way to come together and build this year's team identity.
Harrison Phillips, our guest, Bills defensive tackle. Bills have made a lot of changes, a lot of additions personnel-wise in the last couple of months, Harrison. And I understand you've taken it upon yourself to kind of welcome those guys to the team. Tell me about that. How have you done that?
Well, whenever we sign a free agent, I think I go look them up. Obviously, you want to know and follow them on social media, and then I'll send them, a little direct message congratulating them to come to the team with my phone number if they have any questions. And then through the draft process, I reach out with some of our PR staff, and I did this since even my rookie year. I wanted to get all the guys' numbers like Josh and Tremaine and Terrence, Duran, all those guys. So the day I got drafted that Friday night, I think I called I called Saturday morning and said, hey, any of these picks we have, can you send me their cell phone numbers? And just, hey, excited to get to work with you. Touch base. Let's set a phone call up so we can, get to meet each other and whatever. And then I did that the last 2 years as well with the new draft picks that we would get. And I think this year was the first time within probably by Sunday, every single one of our picks had messaged back too, eager and excited. And so, just want to be be there for any relationships that can start. And, it's tough not being able to go into Buffalo if this is the case. So I want those guys to, vet out to me, where do we live? What are some of the places to get cars or whatever it may be. Just want to be that resource for them and try to take off my leadership.
It's not all been about football this offseason. Harrison, you donated 650 meals for those working on the front lines of the Buffalo General Medical Center and Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital. This also marks the beginning of Nurses Week. Why is it so special or important to you to take care of the medical industry and the people who take care of so many of us?
Well, I think first and foremost, like you said, these guys are out there fighting on the front line. Doctors and nurses have been having it tough for the last quite a while now. And so I wanted to get involved, and I wanted to figure out the best way for me to get involved. And like you mentioned, I donated these meals. And all the work I do in Buffalo, I love donating my time. I love going places and, visiting the hospital. Whatever I can do to volunteer, I love to do. Well, this is one of those times where it was time to kind of get financially involved and do something, a kind of donation. And so stepped up to the plate like some of the other guys in the organization. And the thing that I would like to note, too, it's a little different, is I got my Playmakers involved, which is my nonprofit where I deal with kids with special needs and developmental differences. And so I sent out videos to all of them and their families, encouraging them, if you guys do a chore this week around the house, mom and dad, you pick it out, I'll pay you guys $10 to do that chore. However, that $10 is going to be in the form of a donation to help feed a doctor or a nurse. And so we got back over, 50 or 75 videos from these families and pictures of kids doing the dishes, of kids folding their laundry, of kids mowing the lawn and dusting, all these things around the house. So we're teaching these kids to pay it forward and to give back as well. And then the last thing is, because it's Nurses Week, my aunt, my mom's sister, who lives here in Omaha, is a nurse and has been in the healthcare industry for over 25 years. And so it does hit home for me as well.
It's kind of amazing, Harrison, I got to say. And Sean McDermott, when he was on our show last week, made a point of saying how he's encouraging his players to, quote, find a way to get things done, workouts and studying the playbook. You found a way not just to do the football work, but to do all these other off-season things too during a really difficult time. That's admirable. I salute you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And we're actually doing it here in Omaha. I just sent out a video to my Playmakers in Omaha this morning, and they have the next week to send in any of their videos of them doing stuff and helping others. And then I'll be donating meals, a few hundred meals, to 2 of the hospitals here in Omaha.
Harrison, one last thing, Harrison, have you had, and getting back to the footballing, just to wind it up here, have you had any interaction with your new defensive line coach, Eric Washington? How's that relationship going, and what's your level of excitement to have a new voice in the room?
Yeah, through these virtual OTAs, we've been able to meet, 4 days a week for 2 hours, and majority of those meetings are with the defensive line. So we're in a Zoom meeting with, all 17 of us or whatever there is. And Coach Washington's leading them. And, we're talking about a guy who's been a defensive coordinator and worked his way up, been all across the league, been in Pro Bowls, the whole works. So it's great to have a new guy in and a whole new perspective. And, he had a phone call with me where, he told me, hey, look, with how powerful you are and how strong of a player you are, we can really get your play even up from what I've seen on tape. And that just excited me and motivated me to have a guy come in and not pat me on the back and say, hey, you're a great player, I can't wait to work with you, but hey, you're a good player, but I'm going to make you a great player. And so to have that motivation and accountability in the room is super awesome. And also, aside from a new defensive line coach, we have these new free agents, some guys who've played legitimate football and, earned the right for their paydays. And so we have a lot of competition in the room. I don't think anything is given at this point. So it's going to be a very fun competition and a very good brotherhood to be a part of. Iron sharpens iron, and we believe the defensive line is the tip of the spear, so we got to make sure we're in tip-top shape and leading them.
Harrison, it's good to hear your voice. It's good to know you're coming back soon, and hang in there. Stay healthy in every way. Thanks for coming on the show with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys very much and hope to see you guys soon.